expansion and diversification financial services to SMEs, especially digital financial services. And the third, identifying and promoting, addressing the pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response.
Once again, Pak Wempi, thank you so much for your presentation. And now, before giving the floor to Dr. Mari Pangestu, it would be remiss for me not to pay tribute to our dear colleague Luigi.
And thank you for giving the World Bank Group the opportunity to give the opening remarks this morning. I think my job is to try to put the context of your discussions for today and hopefully for the rest of the year, for the G20 year. So I'm going to try to cover a lot of things. Hopefully I can do so in an efficient manner. I will structure my discussion around 3 questions. Next slide, please.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. I congratulate Indonesia on its G20 presidency, and WHO looks forward to working with you in the year ahead as we recover together and recover stronger.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Tedros. And can I ask our dear colleague Bruce from the WHO to convey to Dr. Tedros our appreciation for taking the time to send us this video messaging.
To recover stronger and be better prepared, we must unite to ensure equal access to both essential medical countermeasures and the expertise needed to combat public health crisis. G20 countries must lead the expansion of global manufacturing hubs for vaccines, therapeutics, and diagnostic tools, or VTD, from developed to developing countries, and ensure wide and timely knowledge sharing among experts to prevent, get prepared, and respond to any public health threats.
Thank you, Chairman. And first of all, let me thank you warmly for the quality of your hospitality. On global health, the Rome Summit laid down the method and the battle plan to ensure that 2022 marks the end of the pandemic. Our efforts should be now focused on three issues. First, delivering results for the timely, predictable, and transparent delivery of vaccines to COVAX with a focus on the last mile issues. Second, on lifting export restrictions further. And third, on expanding production capacities globally in cooperation with WHO by improving the marketplace and supporting the COVAX manufacturing working group, notably WHO hubs for sharing vaccine technologies. The Health Finance Task Force that was constituted in Rome will be an asset in drafting joint actions on this front.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. First, I want to congratulate you, Gianni, and Eddie for assuming the G20 presidency, and thank you for convening this meeting. I am confident that under your leadership, we will further advance our shared goals of overcoming the pandemic and ensuring an inclusive and sustainable recovery. You can count on Mexico for full support to carry your priorities forward. As we meet today, we are witnessing once again the establishment of restrictive travel measures in some countries to curb the spread of a new COVID variant, Omicron. We recognize the World Health Organization decision to designate it as a variant of concern. However, we regret that this has led to the implementation of panic measures from a number of countries. It is important that the international community acts together to protect our people while scientists determine their actual severity. At the same time, we must not forget the agreement of our leaders in Rome to resume international travel in a safe and orderly manner.
It's also a clear demonstration in our view of the importance of establishing an international pathogen surveillance network within the WHO framework. So we know that enhanced surveillance will be critical to preventing the next pandemic, and as Omicron has demonstrated, it's also essential for ending this pandemic. So we were pretty encouraged by the outcomes of the WHO Assembly special session last week and the mandate to develop a new instrument on pandemic prevention, preparedness and response by May 2024. We think this will be a key pillar of strengthened global health architecture, and we think it is essential that that instrument provide broad powers for the WHO to investigate pathogens with pandemic potential and then alert the world without delay.
Second, also, when it comes to the transition to a green economy, we could work on a G20 high-level principles for inclusive green transition, or even replicate or use the platform for SDG localization and intermediary cities to create a forum for the exchange of best practices. In terms of blended finance, we could work on establishing more concrete guidelines based on the principles agreed under the Italian presidency also, and taking into account the need to increase transparency and due diligence to better align these instruments with the SDGs. And also finally, also in terms of development, also we support, as previous speakers, I think Korea and others, the celebration of a development ministers meeting. And we believe that it's also very important to establish close collaboration between the Development Working Group and other G20 tracks, not just the finance track colleagues, but also the Health Working Group, also to advance the implementation of the One Health approach. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesco. Next on my list, I have India. Is Pius online?
All countries, if we want to be able to get doses into arms and relieve the choke points across the medical supply chain, that will take at least another $10 billion of commitment from the global community to support vaccine delivery and administration, especially in low and middle income countries. And the G20 here again has to be a first mover. We also commend the presidency for highlighting global health security as a key theme. And in the spirit of being relevant in what we do, I think our first challenge is to ensure the G20 Health and Finance Task Force does not become a bureaucratic cliche. And that means it has to do something and do it quickly so that we anchor the credibility of this presidency and the G20 as a whole.
They're facing, whilst also having a policy that can both manage the risks that once it's identified, but also then take action on them. And one of the things that we've been pushing there is this thing called the 100-day mission, which is all about trying to reduce down the time it takes for science to identify a potential answer to having a solution. And we call it the 100-day mission because it was developed by CEPI that was about trying to get vaccines developed in 100 days rather than 300 days. But I think there's a wide lesson there, and I'll share some thoughts with colleagues on that. So very much support the work of the health track. If it's okay, partly because I've spoken for too long now, I'll make my development points tomorrow because I'd like to make them in the context of climate and the green transition. But again, overall, I very much welcome your agenda and wish you the best of luck for the year ahead.
Thank you, Jonathan. A kind reminder to colleague, we have lunch and we're I think a bit out of time. I don't want to have the rice turning into porridge. So please try to be as brief as possible. Next on my list, I have Singapore.